So, Jeff, you read any good books lately?
I'm always reading books. Nothing jumping out at me though.
Any good movies, TV shows? What do you watch on Netflix right now?
I've been watching The Mandalorian, of course, like most people, especially with Star Wars stuff in the background. I'm one of those people with Succession and some other HBO shows. I like the Perry Mason of it all because apparently I'm like 70.
Yeah, I think. Oh, people probably want us to talk about the Guardians game, so I guess we'll do that. Unfortunately,
why?
I don't know. How's your garden looking? Did it freeze over like the Guardians' bats with the frost?
Mine's got at least some sign of life. Can't say the same thing about the Guardians' offense.
All right, fine. We'll talk about the game. Jeez.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Guardians. Sorry, I was trying to check out something for my So Rare team there. It is a frustrating day to be a Guardians fan. I want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcast. Over there is Justin. I am Jeff. You might appreciate this as we are airing our grievances / frustrations. It's not even Festivus, but we were feeling it. As I'm watching the game on my tablet, I have it, it's just set up so I can watch, had earpiece in, sitting there reading Bravely because my daughter loves Brave. It's like a sequel book. As I'm sitting there trying to listen to the game, and I can see the Rocky statistics, but they won't show me Cleveland's. Cleveland's never loaded the whole game, and I'm like, maybe they just think Cleveland hasn't done anything because that's what it certainly feels like. This was from T to B, top to bottom, one of the most frustrating games this year. I just, there's so many points we could attack it at. To me, I think my biggest boiling point was like, congratulations to West Virginia's, Brenton Doyle. I know he had family there in attendance, and he nearly had his first hit. He has a 6-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio in the minors, and Quantrell walks him. Like, that guy walked, I think, like 20 times last year. He does not walk, and it's like, hot take, Quantrell and Plesac are kind of the same guy right now.
I still need Netflix recommendations. So if you are watching anything good on Netflix, please let me know. I don't have anything. I finished The Mandalorian and I finished The Night Agent on Netflix. I've been
going through South Park because I need some laughs. So I've just I know there's a few episodes I've missed in there, so I'm kind of working my way backwards through as well. That's kind of my background.
Just trying to do whatever I can to delay talking about this game. It was cold. It stunk.
You were there. At least for me, it was like I got to enjoy it. Like I said, I was listening to Jack Corrigan. He was talking about like taking them out to like restaurants in town, and people could tell he felt like a kid being back in town. He was enjoying himself, and it was, like I said, that is the guy of my youth. So for me, it was nice to hear him again, even in this situation.
Did he do a touch them all time for Jerks and Profar?
I didn't get to hear that. That was the unfortunate thing. I was getting dinner together my wife puts dinner together. I was just getting things out for dinner. I don't want to get accused of taking credit for what I do. I just get things out. She does the hard work. But
it's already been a bad enough day. You don't want to make your wife mad.
No. So it's just like, I was getting tired. I'm like, oh, crud. So I ran over and turned it on, and I literally had missed that. I had just turned it on. And then I was fiddling with like the settings and playing with it to make sure I got the Colorado broadcast because the MLB app this year is just poor. It's very poor. Yeah. The Game Day app was so much better a year ago, and they're making it extra hard to switch broadcasts. I'm like, no, sometimes I want to hear what the other side says. Like, why is this? Do I have to jump through hoops? I had to go through like a whole different interface thing. It's MLB app poor, Guardians offense poor, pitching poor, everything poor. I'm a teacher, straight Fs today. Everything failing everyone right now.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Comment below if you get that reference. Straight to jail.
Yeah.
This is so frustrating. Like, I know I'll get into I think we'll get into the it's early thing again, but this is a weak part of the schedule. And I know they've had some rotation issues because of the injuries and stuff, but Washington's a bad team. Detroit's a bad team. The Marlins are
mediocre at best.
They're mediocre at best. I know some of my tweets or someone maybe who, someone tweeted me and said, the Marlins aren't bad. I'm like, okay, fine. They're not bad, but You faced Drew Smeltzer instead of Sandy Alcantara. You beat up Jesus Luzardo somehow. You couldn't win 2 or 3. Like, I know they didn't play fantastic baseball against Washington, but they took 2 or 3. So at the end of the day, you say, okay, they survived. It's survive in advance. And they're 11-12 right now. You can't, although Tampa Bay is trying, you can't win a division in April. You can lose it. And the Guardians are not losing the division in April. I will give them that. But some of that's also how bad the AL Central is. And the Rockies are a bad team. The Rockies are already eliminated from playoff contention. They are terrible. We've talked about it. They make stupid decisions. I don't know why. I guess Mike Moustakas got 3 hits just to spite us, right? I've always disliked Mike Moustakas as a player. Not as a person, but as
I was
a player.
not sold on him as a prospect. So I feel like, I take credit when I get things right. I was not the biggest Moose believer at various times. So I just feel like it always comes back.
Same.
But yeah,
I wasn't a believer in Whit Merrifield either. So it's anybody than the Royals. I was not a believer in, but
you have to take care of the bad teams. I mean, that's just it. Like you said, like that I argue to a degree you can't, like if we look back and they finish a few games shy of the playoffs, you're going to look back and say, no, they lost it here because the Tigers are going to pick in the top 5. The Rockies are going to pick in the top 5. The Nationals are going to pick in the top 5. And 2 of those 3 teams, we'll see with the Rockies. It's like in the Marlins will probably pick in the top 10 again, back half, but they'll probably be there. And you lost 2 of those 3 series so far, and you're already off on the wrong foot in this one. Like,
to a guy with a 12 ERA, Austin Gomber is awful. He is not a good pitcher.
Josh Bell struck out on an 89-mile-an-hour pitch that was elevated, and that's when you hit out of the yard. And no, instead it was. I mean, they were just. It's the ridiculousness of like. We can hit velocity, but man, if I go out there and throw with my left hand, I'm not a lefty, but if I throw with my left hand, I might be able to strike out the side because this team can't hit any pitch that's low velocity from the left side, and I don't quite understand.
This is a fastball hunting team. I think that is the thing, and I want to touch on a point about Jose later in the podcast too. So stay tuned for that. Watching his at bats tonight, you can look at the pitch data too to him. But yeah, it's velocity that they are a fastball hunting team. Steven Kwan, good fastball hitter. Andres Jimenez, good fastball hitter. Jose Ramirez, and you could say a lot of guys are good fastball hitters, but this is a team that struggles with breaking pitches. Jimenez struggled last year with them.
Troubles with curves.
Trouble with the curve. Yeah, that's a bad movie, and it's a bad pitch for the Guardians, apparently. It's not good. I mean, again, like I said, you can't lose it. You can't win the division in April, but you can lose it, except for Tampa Bay. They already won the division. But, the schedule gets harder after this. I know the Yankees are a little bit beat up. Boston's not a great team, but they're not playing terribly. And you get the Twins. And then after that, you get the Tigers again. Can you rebound against the Tigers in May? You got the Angels, who are not an awful team right now. The White Sox are a disastrous team right now. But then you get the Mets and the White Sox again. The Cardinals somehow are disastrous. And then Orioles, who are not a disaster. So May is a little tougher than April. And you hope that at some point in May, you're a little bit healthier. But it's like, I don't know. People want to say it's early, it's cold. Well, you know what? It's early and it's cold for Colorado. It was early and cold for Miami. It was early and cold for the Tigers. They found a way to win those games. This is what's frustrating to me and I know they didn't play great last April, and they had some struggles winning series too. And this wasn't the case until later in the year. But you remember how the end of the year was, like from, I don't know, July on? It felt like no matter what the score of the game was, you felt like this team had a chance to come back. The Twins series, the White Sox series, the Tigers, even though the Tigers played them tough last year. I remember watching the games last year midsummer, and I think it was after the Naylor grand slam and 3-run homer in extra innings. From that point on, it felt like this team was never out of a game. No matter what the score was or what inning it was, it felt like, okay, this team has a chance to come back. Or the energy's in the dugout. They believe in themselves. And I'm not saying they don't believe in themselves right now, because we don't know. I'm not in the dugout. I don't know. But I don't get the same sense watching that. I was joking with somebody. I said it's 6-0, but it might as well be 31-0.
That's what it felt. I had the same thought. I was like, this one's over. Like, I can't. No way. They're not scoring 6 runs. Like, I had no belief. I just kept watching, but I had no faith.
Yeah, you just like last year, you felt like this team could come back in games, and so far, and yes, it's early, and I know they didn't pick up that vibe until midsummer last year, so it could happen again. But right now, it's the same group of guys who may have all those comebacks a year ago, so they should know that they can come back in any game. And maybe the energy is there in the dugout. I don't know. It felt like, I think Andre said in the broadcast Saturday, like the energy wasn't there until yesterday, until Sunday, when they were hitting well finally. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like they're back in the game. And Jeff, no 3 stars tonight. You're not allowed to do 3 stars tonight. Nobody deserves a star. No stars. No stars. Nope.
I mean, legitimately, there's like no one in this game. I mean,
Curry.
Quan and Curry would have been.
Quan saved them from being no hit. Quan had 3 hits, and Miles Straw had a hit. Without Quan, they get no hit.
Can we just talk about last year? Remember how like I ripped on Kyle Farmer and then he like destroyed the Guardians? It seems that I'm just going to sit here and become the biggest Quan hater because after all of his struggles, I say something and immediately is better. So for the sake of this team, like last night. I see the little thing saying my internet's going. Last night I made a comment about Quan and he played well. So Quan's terrible. I'm just going to say that now. Let's keep this reverse jinx running.
Let's keep it running, and let's get to the next segment here in just a second.
Hello, everyone. I don't know why I did it like it's the intro, but hello, our sponsor. This episode today is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is exactly what that name says. Better, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp. We all need help sometimes. I talked about, I've always been very honest about my attention deficit disorder. You'll see me looking around the show throughout. Now that we do video, I've talked about, in the past, someone who has struggled with depression and things of the like, and just general anxiety. Anxiety is not my friend. And when you're someone like me, you need someone occasionally to talk to, someone that can help. And that's what BetterHelp does, and provides. So if I have benefited from therapy. It is something that can help you discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB to get 10% off your first month. And I just want to quickly also point out that BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist that can take you on a journey of self-discovery. And that if that person isn't perfect, you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Remember to visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnMLB.
Very quickly, I want to put something out about. I tweeted this last night. Somebody tweeted that the Cavs obviously played like crap on Sunday and they lost again. And someone tweeted the honeymoon. If you look at Twitter, and I know Twitter is a mess, and social media is not a good representation of real life, but it might be for sports sometimes. But the tweet said the honeymoon is clearly over if you read Twitter for the Cavs. And I think that's true. I think everybody expected the Cavs to win a playoff series this year, and who knows what else. I'm not really sure. But I don't think they expected this to happen to them, even though I know the Knicks played them well. This is not Locked on Cavs. You should go listen to that after this. But it's a lesson for the Guardians, is that everything last year with the Cavs was new and exciting. There were no expectations. It was before the Mitchell trade, and guys were playing well. They were experimenting with weird, tall lineups, and everything was new and exciting. Same for the Guardians. You had rookie debuts every other day. You had comeback wins. This team, nobody had not, I don't know, 1% of people had them winning anything last year. Everything was fun and exciting and new. The expectations weren't there until the playoffs. And just like the Cavs, they are now. And I want to say we talked about this. If you're an everyday, or maybe you listened to this back in spring training before we were talking about the season preview show. Expectations are the thief of joy. Last year, you were able to enjoy everything about this team last year when things started clicking in the right direction, because nobody knew how Josh Naylor was going to bounce back from his leg injury for the first time. Nobody knew Stephen Kwan was going to finish third rookie of the year, although I did guess that was going to happen back in April, I will say. I did predict that.
He was my dark horse. I said that on the show.
Yeah, so some people did think that. I like Will Brennan a lot. Didn't think he was going to be up last year. Nobody predicted 17 rookie debuts,
Oscar Gonzalez. No one predicted that.
Definitely didn't predict that. Andres Jimenez making the All-Star team. That wasn't predicted. Trevor Stephan
I did say Andres was on a Jose Ramirez similar path. So
okay. You did like Trevor Stephan. But I mean, collectively, nobody expected what to happen last year with the way it unfolded. And now that it has, and now that there's expectations for this team to do what they did last year and go better and go further. And they added Josh Bell, who should improve, be an automatic improvement over Owen Miller, who I guess Owen Miller had a great April last year. So far, Owen Miller, Josh Bell, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting my other hand one over one hand for Owen Miller over Josh Bell in terms of April stats. But, Mike Zunino has been a bright spot this year offensively, which is the first time in what feels like forever for a catcher offense. But the whole point is expectations are the thief of joy, and it makes it. I mean, I know they're not playing well, but it's like when they got off to the same kind of start last April. It was annoying, but it wasn't as annoying as this because you're like, okay, well, they're going to move on from Robbie Bradley. They already did. They moved on from Oscar Mercado. They moved on from Yu Chang. They moved on from Bradley Zimmer. Like, at least they did that. They were going young, and that was the right direction. And there was hope. And now that there's expectations, it ruins things. Expectations ruin things. I always argue with my fiance about I think 22 Jump Street's better than 21 Jump Street. And she says 21 Jump Street's better because there were no expectations for that movie. Nobody knew if it was going to be any good. I enjoy 22 Jump Street a lot more. But my whole point is when there's no expectations and something turns out to be great, you enjoy it more. When there's expectations, it's like going to a 5-star restaurant and not getting your order right or getting bad food. You expected better. So I just think that's a lesson to everybody, just to how the season's unfolding. To, I don't know, I don't want to say manage expectations, because how are you going to manage them? They are expected to win the division. How do you manage that now?
Yeah, it's like Alonzo, who's an everydayer for us, said like he took some exception with us saying the Marlins, they're average. It's fine, but guess what? If your expectation is make the postseason, then you got to beat the average team. You have to beat the team that's mid when you are going to be a postseason team. Like that, especially when they're throwing Devin Smeltzer.
That's the problem with guys like Ahmed Rosario and Plesac and Savali is they are mid, they are average.
Yeah.
And it's okay to aspire to better, because guess what? The Guardians might have better in their system. They might have guys that can play this year that are better. It's okay to aspire to better. But, here we are.
Yeah, I agree. It's just that situation right now where it is so frustrating because this was supposed to be the good part. Instead, it's early, and I know everyone gets, even I say it's too early for anything to change. But let's face it, outside of Oakland, who might be the worst team in the last 50 years of baseball, intentionally made, essentially John Fisher is pulling a major league. He is Rachel Phelps over there with what he is doing, but he is actually successfully pulling it off. They've not, that first weekend against Seattle and then beating up a Nationals team who might be the second worst team in baseball. Everyone else has kind of had their number, and that's a concern, especially again, when they've had an easy schedule. This is one of the easier schedules of baseball in the early going. I bet I'd have to go look at it, but they have faced 3 teams that project to have top 5 picks. Basically, you get the Royals in there and they'd be all set. But yeah, they've faced a cupcake schedule, and it doesn't show in their record.
Yeah, it's okay to be. It's okay to say it's early, but it's also okay to be frustrated because again, there are expectations for this team. And hey, if you're a fan, the whole point is to be invested emotionally. If you're a fan of any team in sports, and if you are giving your time and energy and your money to watch a team, it's okay to expect them to be good. I know you shouldn't expect Oakland to be good this year. You shouldn't expect Detroit or Washington to be good this year, but it's okay to expect them to progress in the right direction if you're not seeing positive signs. If you are investing time, energy, and money into sports, it doesn't matter if it's 1 game or 10 games. It's okay to feel frustrated. If you're a fan, that's part of being a fan. It's just, it's early for everybody. That doesn't mean it's an excuse. I'm sorry, it's not. Real quickly, another good outing for Xzavion Curry. Any thoughts on him moving to the rotation? He was supposed to pitch Wednesday if they didn't need him on Monday or Tuesday, and unfortunately, they needed him on Monday. But he pitched good again. We'll get into who is going to pitch Wednesday or who we think is going to pitch Wednesday. Any notion on your end, Jeff, to maybe move Xzavion Curry into the rotation the way he has pitched so far?
I've gone back and forth with this, and at the end of the day, I kind of feel like no. And the reason I'll say that is I feel like weirdly, the rotation's set. They're not going to move on from Quantrell and Plesac. They're paying those guys a lot of money relative to all things for them. They also are very slow to move on from pitchers. You have Savale, who hopefully will be back in the next month, as well as McKenzie. So when you're looking grand scheme with it, he's effective where he is. Unless we really end up needing another starter for some reason, unless Battenfield just completely comes back to earth, let him stay where he's effective and works. The same thing we've kind of seen with Gaddis, right? Like, it's fine to give Curry maybe a few more opportunities, but there's also that part of me that goes, you know what? We all think he's a reliever. Maybe we just let him stay a reliever.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like the same side of like Josh Naylor. Let's stop having him try to hit lefties. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Stop trying to turn relievers into starters, and stop trying to make Naylor hit lefties.
Speaking of that, before we go and to the break here and get to the Wednesday pitcher situation or Tuesday's matchup, Will Brennan MIA again. Again, I'm going to bring up that Tito said over the weekend that facing so many lefties in a row, he said it doesn't make sense to sit all the left-handed hitters because it's not productive for them to not get at bats for 3 or 4 days in a row. And once again, they faced another lefty, and once again, Will Brennan was missing in action until late in the game. He better start the next 4 games in a row because I think the string of lefties has finally ended for them. He better be starting the next 4 days because I think that's to go ahead and say that about Josh Naylor and then do the opposite with Will Brennan for the 4th straight day or whatever 4th straight game confuses the heck out of me, and it's annoying.
Yeah, no, it's inconsistency.
It sure is. Well, we will get to who is pitching on Wednesday, among other things, here in just a moment. Well, I wouldn't recommend taking any Guardians hitters with our next sponsor. It's so rare. Revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. They have partnered with some of your favorite stars like Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez. Games happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of game weeks, MLB managers for So Rare who rank at the top or near the top of the leaderboards win a variety of rewards, which can include scarcity cards, game tickets, merch, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences. Prizes will vary depending on the competition, so head to sorare.com/lockedon, that is SORARE.com, to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. Jeff, don't take any Guardians. That's my advice.
I've got like 3, but
that's not going to work for you.
Yeah, especially because like I have 4. It's not. But hey, I've managed to unlock Garrett Cole, Mauricio Tupacano, and I can't remember who else I unlocked. But I've had 3 unlocks. I've gotten an unlock every week. I just keep playing. I need to unlock a reliever so I can enter multiple contests at once. That's my hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't bought.
Make sure you're checking out the Guardians game on Tuesday on Sirius XM. Search for the Guardians on your XM app. Tuesday, Jeff is, well, if they play, let's be honest, the weather is bad Tuesday. In theory, Ryan Feltner versus Peyton Battenfield. I have concerns about Ryan Feltner for the Guardians. By the way, Jeff, he throws his slider 30% of the time, and this year hitters are hitting 150 against it. With 1 homer, it is a slider-heavy approach. The fastball has limited guys to 200 average and a 314 WOBA. I smell something bad coming from there.
Yeah,
maybe it's
the one nice thing is command is not great with him. He has good velocity, former Ohio State Walsh product, I believe. Was up to 97, 98 at Ohio State. Throws hard. Brother also maybe in college right now or recent draft pick, but Ohio kid. He's going to have some extra momentum. He's probably going to have a little bit of extra behind it, trying to come out and pitch in front of the hometown team. But yeah, it's nice for him to get that opportunity. He's a guy I've for years said I'd love to see the Guardians acquire just because that fastball slider combo and get him out of the horror show that is the Colorado developmental system. Like I feel like there's a very good chance he could be a back end reliever. Just like, when they got Trevor Stephan and did something like that. Like, that's what I'd love to see happen with Feltner if he continues to struggle.
Yeah, the data for him on the fastball slider both good to this year.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, although the fastball spin is just mediocre, velocity is good. Everything on the Savant page is red except for the walks. So hopefully the Guardians can be patient. I doubt this game is going to be in, but let's talk about the impact of Wednesday because I know you want to talk about that. So the rain changes everything for Wednesday, but as of right now, the guy they were planning on pitching on Wednesday is not going to be available. So what are your thoughts on what they do Wednesday, Jeff? Let's for some shadow of a doubt believe they're going to play this game Tuesday.
So here's the thing. Just go back to everything I said. They're not going to push out Quantrill or Plesac as much as people want them to. They tend to want lots of starts for guys to get called up. If they were to go to Bybee, it would be 7 days between starts. And his last start was one of his worst starts in his entire minor league career. Not that has a huge effect, but it's also noticeable because, he's only had 4 starts in AAA. So I don't think it's happening. And they also don't call up a guy of his name with a pitcher. They don't call a guy up and then just send him down. They're typically here to stay. They do that with hitters. With pitchers, they're here to stay. What I think they would do if they needed someone is clear a 40-man spot, maybe cut a catcher. It's a matter of time before that happens, or move on from Pilkington. And you've got Daniel Norris and you've got Touki Toussaint, who are guys who pitch 2 to 3 innings. If the game goes, if it's a rain out, then the calculus becomes very simple. If it's not a rain out, I think it's Norris and or Toussaint being the Shane McCarthy / Tanner Tully of a year ago. People. McCarthy? Did I say the wrong thing?
You said Shane McCarthy. I was like, Shane McCarthy was out with TJ last year, so I had to.
Yeah, that's right. Wrong guy. Shane McCarthy and Kirk McCarty are different, but also similar in my head. But yeah, Kirk McCarty. And I know people are like, hey, this year they're trying to contend. Well, they were trying to contend a year ago. They will likely at some point throw a spot starter in a game. I would not be shocked if they do like they did a year ago. There's going to be times where it happens. As much as people want them to go do the big exciting move, they're not going to call it Bybee until he's staying. Like, that's just likely the way of it. And he is going to be great. He was our number 1 prospect for a reason. They're going to slow play it, and they're going to want him to get more reps and experience. And coming off, like I said, a rougher start where he had more walks and strikeouts. Again, I don't think that's ever happened. It doesn't ding his value at all, but I also think that's part of the reason they want him to get more exposure to more patient hitters up at the AAA level. Yeah,
if it rains Tuesday and the game doesn't go on as expected, you push Battenfield back to Wednesday. You play doubleheader with Wednesday, and everybody gets a 27th man. And that can be Hunter Gaddis. I know Gaddis pitched Saturday, but he can come back. He didn't pitch starters innings on Saturday, so he can come back on Wednesday and give you a couple innings as a 27th man. The 10 days or 15 days? I think it's 15 days in the minors, but I could be wrong for pitchers. Maybe that's just the.
I think it's 15 for pitchers. I think it's 15.
Okay, so if they were trying to call him back up to start the game as a normal roster player, they couldn't do it because he hasn't been in the minors long enough. But as a 27th man, that doesn't count for doubleheader, so they could bring him back and he can give you some length. Or they could do the same thing with Pilkington. He did the same thing Saturday. He only threw 50 pitches for Columbus on Saturday, so he could also be a long man in the bullpen game on Wednesday if they decide to play doubleheader Wednesday. I would guess Gaddis at this point, the way Pilkington has pitched and the way they have kind of bypassed him at this point, which makes me think whenever they do add Bybee to the 40, that will be an easy spot for them to cut with Pilkington. But I would guess my guess right now is it's going to rain Tuesday, and then Wednesday they'll play doubleheader, and Gaddis will come up as the 27th man. Hopefully Battenfield does well in game 1, and game 2 is a bullpen day. And there you go. And game Wednesday is against Noah Davis. Real quickly from Monday's game as well. I don't know if you caught it closely, Jeff, but so Jose Ramirez is first at bat. He's down 2-1 in the count, or he's up 2-1 in the count, I should say. He took a called strike fastball, and the next 2 pitches, he got a curveball for a dirt and the dirt he spit on, and then he got a fastball that wasn't a strike. So up 2-1 in the count, you expect you've earned a fastball against a guy like Austin Gomber. Instead, he got a changeup fouled it off, and then 2-2 he got a curveball. And
he's kryptonite a year ago, right?
Yeah.
The pitch that he's really
and
bad
then
against.
the knuckle curve. I don't know. He hit changeups well a year ago, but I mean things are
The
out of
curve
whack.
was the wacky one, right? I thought
Trouble with the curve, yeah. And then his next at bat against Gomber in the third inning, okay, he gets a fastball, it's a called strike. And then it's 3 straight balls. Fastball, curve, changeup, all balls, 3-1 in the count. So again, you think you've earned a cookie from the pitcher, right? Nope. He gets a slider and then he gets a foul ball, a fastball. The slider is a swing strike, he misses, and then it's a fastball 3-2, and then he makes an out on the curveball. Let's see, in the 6th inning against Jake Bird, that was just 2 sinkers. And then his final at bat against, I think, Pierce Johnson. Yes. 2-0 count. A fastball and a curveball, 2-0 count. What does he get for the 2-0 pitch? He gets a called strike curveball. What does he get for a 2-1 pitch? Curveball. What does he get for a 2-2 pitch? A fastball that he's behind on. He swings and misses for a strike. He is being pitched backwards. He is not getting fastballs and fastball counts. Guys don't care. Pitchers don't care. If they are down 2-0 to Jose Ramirez, if they are down 3-1 to Jose Ramirez, he is not getting a fastball. He is getting into fastball counts, and pitchers have stopped giving him fastballs. I haven't looked at the Savant data in terms of what he's getting by what he's being thrown the most, but the at-bats tonight were pretty clear. Don't throw Jose Ramirez a fastball. I don't care if it's 2-0, 3-0, 3-1. He doesn't get a fastball. And that he was late on that last pitch by Pierce Johnson that was a 2-2 fastball tells you right there he thought he was getting a breaking ball. So
he just doesn't seem quite the same. And I'm trying to remember if it was an article or listening to a game where I think I was listening to the game where they're like, he's still recovering. They're like, for whatever, there's still a degree of like getting back in the full swing of things. But yeah, his chase rate is 34th percentile. And this is a guy who, you go back to 21, he was 72nd percentile. He is chasing a lot, and he started to chase a lot last year, and he's not barreling and he's chasing. And that's a little bit of a concern because he's supposed to be healthy, and he's still, it's like, there's a part of me, I feel like he'll rebound, but I don't know if he's going to quite reach his peaks because it's like he picked up some bad habits, and there's some things when he tried to overcompensate that I feel like he's working his way back from. And I don't know, are you at all nervous with Jose?
I'm not nervous about the chase rate. No, I am nervous. I think he has got to figure out a way to take a look at what he's being thrown and figure out a way to adjust against pitchers who are not going to give him a fastball in a fastball count. Like that's easier to do, I think, than the chase. The chase thing will come down. I think these two things compound each other. I think the fact that he is not getting fastballs and fastball counts is causing him to chase more. And he may not get more fastballs. He, even though he's earning them, he's got to find a way to adjust. If he realizes that it's just not happening, and he will. He's a smart hitter, so I think once he adjusts to the fact that he's not getting fastball count fastballs, he will stop chasing because he will. Again, I think these two things are connected. Yeah, so I'm not too concerned yet. And I think I'm trying to think who said it. I think Tito said it. I think Zach asked him it, and he said about Jose was that, his thumb is healthy, but he's got to work back into the strength of it playing every day, because he was like you said, he probably picked up some bad habits too from trying to swing through the pain and manage the pain. And it might have created some bad habits for him. So now he's got to get back to swinging normally and swinging every day too. So that could also be a thing.
Right now, his most similar player for this year is 2016 Asdrubal Cabrera.
Yeah, that's not great. That's not what you want.
According to Savant. But I mean, like I said, again, I think he's going to be an all-star level talent. I just worry that he's never going to, that maybe we're, not going to see that like last year where he was on an MVP and where he was like a top, 3 MVP candidate for all those years in a row. That is so if anyone gets mad at me, that's the concern. I just have that there.
This could take, I know maybe we want to talk about this on Wednesday a little bit, but real quick, maybe we should save your thoughts on this, but Manny Ramirez and Dale Mitchell are going into the Guardians Hall of Fame this summer. I know some people say they didn't play for the Guardians. That's what they're calling them. They're saying Guardians Hall of Fame because the Hall of Fame belongs to the Guardians. So just, deal with it.
Yeah. It's such a silly thing to get caught in the weeds on. Manny Ramirez, people need to stop being so precious. Like that whole era feels like we had, it's funny how it's selectively applied to people about the steroids. And yes, did he cheat?
Yeah.
Yes. But did other players who are in the Major League Hall of Fame? Likely. I mean, there's enough data there to say, yeah, good chance of that. So I'm a little bit. I think that's fine. Dale Mitchell, I'll save some stuff. He's an interesting candidate. It was kind of a shocker for me. I definitely did some deep diving. I'll save that though.
Stay tuned for Wednesday's show on that.
Yeah, doing a vertical there, as they call them.
Yes, the vertical. Stay tuned to Wednesday's show for Jeff's thoughts on Dale Mitchell in the Hall of Fame and the Manny Ramirez too. I got some thoughts on Manny Ramirez in the Hall of Fame. Jeff, a former Cleveland draft pick, just missed a perfect game tonight. Who was it?
Spencer Strider, former drafted him out of high school, could not sign him, unfortunately. Another former Cleveland draft pick was released today. Clint Frazier going the other way.
He did. I think he did sign. Though.
Mutually part ways. Did he sign with someone else? He mutually parted ways with the Rangers today.
Interesting. Okay, I
didn't see if he had gone to anyone else, but he's already 28.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, he was doing okay in AAA. I mean,
he was doing okay, but man, he's already 28. He's gone back and forth on that name change. It's not gone well for Frazier. It's an interesting one to bear watching, but
stay tuned to Wednesday's show for more on Dale Mitchell's Hall of Fame candidacy, Manny Ramirez Hall of Fame candidacy, and if the
Guardians win for or no game. Part of me is almost rooting for rain tomorrow, though. I'm not going to say that because I know you got a chance to sit in a nice seat, so no rain for Justin. But
only if they're going to win. If they're going to lose, it can rain. If they're going to lose, it can rain.
They got to beat this Rockies. The Rocky team is just poorly run, poorly put together, poorly everything. Like this is the model for bad franchise in baseball right now. And outside of the Athletics, who are just, I don't know, like I said, it's literally the movie Major League over there. It is that they put together a team so poor you can move it to the fancier location. Instead of Miami, it's Vegas. It's ridiculous, but thank you all for watching, rating, reviewing, downloading. It helps. I respond to the comments. Comments were a little salty today. Some people did not like our bunt takes, but we're never going to change those. Bunting, the process is always poor. Even if you win, more often than not, you're going to lose. And to the person who got mad about us celebrating when we get things right, that's literally what podcasting about sports is like, hey, we got that right, to show that we actually know what we're talking about. So yeah, we're still going to take our victory laps, and I'm still going to sit here and be like, Cord Phelps, that's a big miss by me. But another one of the Stanford bats. Go back in time to our previous conversation last week.
Phelps, check out Stanford guy.
I'm pretty positive he was a Stanford guy. Oh. We'll comment below, and I'll look that up after the show. We also had someone who talked about missing the long episodes. Maybe we can do like a special edition every few weeks and throw out like a bonus extra content where we do a 30, like do on Fridays, run long, but break it up so we can like do the second half as a bonus episode or something. We miss those as well. But thank you for all for doing your part, and go Guardians, go beat the flipping terrible Rockies. You got to beat it. You have to beat the Rockies. They're dog water, as my students would say.